that you are all doing well out there, whether you're watching this now live or in the rerun. All right, I think that's good. I think we got a good light going here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time to watch tonight. Um, Interesting week as usual. Always things busy going around here. It's actually a lot cooler here in Amsterdam this week. If you remember a week or so back, I I was dying because it was so hot, especially here in the studio room. Because as you know, these apartments. Hey, Ben, welcome. I guess it's just you and me tonight, Ben. Oh no, here we go. Everybody's starting to show up. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Yeah, but tonight it's dipping out to about 13°C. So doesn't know what it wants to do weather-wise here. I like it better this way. Actually, I like the cooler weather. As you know, I lived for 5 years in Singapore, which I call the endless summer. I used to come here. Hey. Yeah, don't fill up. We'll get there. I do appreciate you guys showing up. Yeah, and just here is a lot nicer when it's like this. This is one of the reasons I moved here because I like this climate. I like a little cooler climate, actually. I grew up in Southern California back when we actually had real weather. And I kind of appreciate having 4 seasons too. On the equator, there is no such thing as 4 seasons. It's pretty much well, I guess you can count rainy season, but that seemed to be pretty much well all the time, as I seem to recall. But yeah, it's much nicer here in Amsterdam this week. I went to go visit Fern just to drop in and say hello to him um, and discuss. It's been hot and humid here in the east coast of eastern Ontario. Yeah, the whole East Coast is experiencing that kind of weather. It's very interesting. My brother, interestingly, told me enough that it's going to be 90 degrees in Utah today. So, yeah, it's warm in the States. Not so, again, like I said, one of the reasons I moved here is I thought that I was pretty much guaranteeing myself, pretty mild summers, but no, last year was pretty brutal. But we'll see what happens this year. Yeah, I went to go see Fern. Just having a little chat with him, talking about some things coming up. Uh, on the guitar side, here's what I wanted to say. I had no idea until on YouTube at the top of my channel when I go to it or when you go to it, it'll tell you how many videos that this channel has. And last week's video, the one that I posted, ended up being number 300. So I thought, oh wow, I don't want that. That's a pretty good milestone to cross. 4 years, 300 videos, roughly 4 years, 300 videos. That's pretty cool. Almost 2,000 subscribers. And so I didn't post anything. I have a video that I shot that I will be posting tomorrow, but I didn't do anything because I just want that let that 300 hang for a little while. So I'm getting to the point where you can watch a different video from me on this channel every day for a year and see something different. And there is a lot of debates out there whether how much output a channel should have. I'm releasing an average now of at least 2 videos. Well, one regular content video and one live stream a week. So I think I've hit a pretty good balance there, and I'm happy where I'm at. So I want to thank you guys. You guys that are live watching, Ben and all you guys. I want to thank you who are going to watch this later in the repeat, the rewind. Thank you for supporting my channel, getting me to 300 videos, the encouragement to get to 300 videos. So that's pretty interesting. A lot more to come. Yeah, we're going to be looking at that D'Armand a little bit more closely this week. Going to dig into that just a little bit. I was researching the information on that guitar, And it kind of triggered, one of the topics that we'll get into tonight. I was looking into the history of Fender and why they bought Dearmon pickups, because they were producing pickups at that time. They did have. I do believe they also had a amplifier at that time as well. But and also Guild, which in the case of the Dearmon M75T that I have, that body design is based on a Guild from 1935, something like that. In any case, uh, I was looking into the history of that to do my video to talk about the MT75, and came across kind of a revelation. It kind of dawned on me something that I don't know if it's been pointed out or not. Maybe it has been. That when Fender bought Dearmon and they bought Guild, I thought that at the same time they also had Gretsch, but they didn't. They didn't buy Gretsch until later on, 2001. They're acquiring Dearmond and the Guild designs came around the mid '90s, and they put these guitars out with these Guild bodies, with these Dearmon. They even took the time to redesign the Dearmon pickup, as I talked about, the difference between the original from the 50s, 2000 pickup, that 2K pickup that I have, and this one that was a redesign of that one. And then the current 2000 that you find in Gretsch guitars. Now, what am I getting to? You know, I found it very odd in a Sherlock Holmesing kind of way that they put those guitars together from around 99, 98 until 2001, and then they completely killed the line. Completely killed it. Those guitars were considered to be fantastic at the time. As a matter of fact, as I pointed out, in 2001, they were featured in Guitar.com or the Guitar Player or something like that as Guitar of the Month, the MT75. M75T. And so, hey, welcome. And so then the following year, they acquired Gretsch. Now, were they acquired, did they have it in their minds, and it certainly seems that way, if you understand where I'm going, that they had it in mind to buy Gretsch. They had that, they were going to try to acquire Gretsch. They bought everything that would have been considered kind of a competition to their Gretsch designs. They did a little something with it, I guess, to justify the purchase or in order to justify whatever kind of loans that they got. They had to do something with it, and then they killed it, and then acquired. Basically, they killed out the competition before they bought Gretsch. The competition that they would have had. So, it's a shame. And looking and digging into that, that's kind of the conclusion that I came to, is that Fender, knew they were going to acquire Gretsch. They knew that they were going to acquire Gretsch, and they skillfully and masterfully bought, acquired, and killed any competition to those kind of guitars, which makes that period of time when they were producing these guitars, the guitars, as I pointed out before, they're pretty special. They're pretty cool. Next to my Stoner Les Paul that I love, I've grown fond of. That M75T is a great guitar. I really like playing it. Very very cool. You can strum it without plugging it into. It's got good acoustic strum to it. 25 years of sitting around has aged well with that guitar. So if you do run across one of those, take a look at it. You'll run into them somewhere. They're all over the map in terms of what price they are and condition as well. But they are something rare. They compete with some of the similar tier Gretches that are out there now. Not only do they compete with it, I'll go so far as to say that they're superior than the current budget Gretches out there. You know, in the 599. I guess they get up there to around 850, 899 range in euros. But it is interesting to me that they did that, and why I said that leads to topics tonight. You know, I read a very interesting article too. You know, how does it tie in with that story? Well, it's just this corporate. You know, it's business, so you can understand it on one hand, but on the other hand, as consumers, it really doesn't benefit us because it gives us less choices. Would the M75T exist if Fender hadn't bought both Guild and Dearmont? No, those guitars wouldn't exist because it would have taken somebody else. But then again, you know, who else could have stepped in and done that? So there is that aspect of it. But then to eliminate those, when those guitars, if they continue that line, I guarantee you that line to this day, if to carry that through the last 25 years, it would still be around in a popular line. Um, it would be something that people would want to play and own. And so that is what I mean as consumers, we're really not benefiting. We kind of lost a little bit of a choice there. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly looking to sell off half of its film and TV music catalog. In what sounds like Warner Brothers Discovery's latest bid to make some quickish cash by offloading its IP, the company is reportedly trying to sell the rights to a bunch of old music from TV show and films that you've probably never heard of. This is from The Verge. They opened up with that, and I read that, and I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. But there have been other reports on, in more detailed reports than that, which was a corporate, fluff piece at best. So that's why I'm only going to read that title bar. But the part in there where it says old stuff that you may never have heard of is what caught my eye. Is because one of the pieces that is up for sale is Purple Rain. I don't think there's anybody out there in the audience who doesn't know when I say Purple Rain, what film I'm talking about and the music thereof. Honestly speaking, it's only when I read stuff like that, and then I know, and it's not just Purple Rain. There are a lot of artists' music that's up for sale, and Sony is the biggest bidder on that. If it was a whole bunch of fluff that nobody wants, why would Sony be stepping in to buy it? It would actually, they wouldn't. It would go to it would go to the secondary music markets. Little Nicky, yeah, Darling Nikki. And Little Nicky is a movie with with Adam. What's his name? It's actually a funny movie. Little Nicky, look that one up. That's an old one. God, Adam, I can't think of his last name. But yeah, dig that. And yeah, that's right. Yeah. A lot of musicians are, and this leads, and this whole sell, it would go to the secondary market, is what I was trying to say. The secondary market are the smaller labels. There are still small labels, what I would call the mid-tier labels out there. They're not the Sonys or Adam Sandler. Yeah, Little Nicky with Adam Sandler. Thank you, Ben. And it really would have, if it was as described in that Verb fluff piece, as being just a bunch of fluff and stuff that nobody, old movies and whatnot, it would really go to that market because there's value there. Because they can sell it just like licensing, just like everybody else. But for releasing it for consumer purposes, is one of the things that they're good for. I like the mid-tier labels because they're not like the big ones. Unfortunately, they're getting far and fewer in between. But in any case, Sony's buying it. So that tells me that it's a little bit more, and it is a lot more because there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of valuable music. And you see a lot of artists these days, Bruce Springsteen, my gosh, who's the other guy that really surprised me? Uh, Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber. He sold his catalog for $200 million. Hey, Mike. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, doing well, Don Juan C. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for showing up. Everything's good here. Yeah, Justin Bieber, Bruce Springsteen, I believe Tom Petty before he passed. A lot of cats are recently starting to sell their catalogs. They're starting to let them go. Now, again, with Fender knowing where they were going down the line, Neil Young sold, yeah, Neil Young, there you go. Absolutely, that's correct. Um, I look at Fender, not that we care. Well, again, I'm doing a little bit of supposition here. You guys deal with me. Sorry, I'm late to learn some Nina Simone and Billie Holiday songs from my fiance said. Oh yeah, interesting. You should mention that. That's another set of music that years ago, the warehouse on the Warner lot, again, Warner Brothers raises their ugly head in this tale I weave tonight, uh, that had all that old music, the Billie Holiday stuff, all their old catalog, it burnt. They were all destroyed. There are no original copies, the original, you know, of any of that music that they had in their catalog. It all burnt up. How valuable was it to them that they had in a situation where it could go up in flames like that? There was no redundancy systems in there, as I seem to recall the story. And all that history, all that recording work has gone up in flames. Now, you see that Fender uh, had a goal. We're going to buy Gretsch. Warner Brothers did lose all the masters in the Mass of Fire. Yeah, all their masters gone. And we saw that Fender had an end goal there. Yeah. And their end goal was to buy Gretsch. And all the original tapes and man, yeah, all that. A lot of that we're not going to get into the Man on the Moon tapes. But I mean, NASA can all the original NASA files, and we're talking about like an Indiana Jones warehouse amount of data. Somehow has disappeared. They can't find it. Anyway, we'll leave that alone. But that's a funny one. But they had a goal. Let's get Gretsch. Let's eliminate all the stuff in between. Let's buy up everything that we might foresee as a competitor. We will do something with it just to satisfy whatever obligations we have for our business partners. And then we're going to completely smush it. And that's what they did. And then this moves, again, I see the record companies and these labels and the things that they have in mind. There's some end goal here. There's something going on. It's not going to be good for the consumer. What would cause all these artists to sell their, the way it works with copyright law is that in 75 years, the copyright goes back to the family of whoever descendants of the original copyright holder. Anyway, and so why would these artists be cashing in on their royalties, which even after they're gone, their progeny could continue to receive? It's a very odd thing. So again, looking at these machinations in the music, not just in the gear market, but also in the commercial side, the real deal stuff, what the gear market is there to service, creating. There's a lot of weird stuff out there, and I haven't, you know, imagine in my mind the way I see some of these things is I have something I call a whom file. I've got two files. I've got a whom file and I've got a circular file. No royalties left. May as well cash out. Well, yeah. Again, I told you a story about a good friend and a mentor in a direct way. Smokey Robinson with me is that, you know, there's the famous story that he wasn't that, you know, his royalties started to dry up. He was starting to get a lot less. And so yeah, that plays a part of it too. I know, you know, secondhand, you know, an artist who's going through that. So yeah, there's that. But look at these machinations, and I have two files. I got a circular file and I got a whom file. Now, the circular file speaks for itself. That's a trash can. So if somebody tells you to file it in the circular file, they're basically telling you to throw it away. That's kind of old school talk. The whom file is where I'll read something here, I'll see something there, and I will say that's interesting. I will put it away, and if it corroborates or in some way lines up to something else, then I'll look into it a little further, or I'll have a complete kind of view of something. But with this, you know, I'm just speculating. I'm just drawing these parallels where you can see these movements that these corporations make, and I found it fascinating. I found it. It's just again something to talk about with you guys tonight, as always as well. But something to think about. I want to give you guys something to chew on. 4th of July is coming up. I had no idea. I'm so out of those kind of things that I had no idea that this was the fourth weekend coming up. So I said, well, you know, I'll probably not do anything as I normally do for the 4th of July, but I will probably do a little bit of my guitar shopping, you know, just looking around. And as I was thinking about that, I came up with another thought, which is the main title of tonight's live stream. Have the member berries gone sour in the gear market? I was thinking about, you know, with guitars, it's funny. You know, my brother asked me, or my brother and I were talking about guitars just a few hours ago. And as I was explaining to him, kind of summing up, because he wanted to know what I was going to talk about tonight. I was kind of summing it up for him, and I said, well, it's like this. What do I mean by that? I have the member berries gone sour in the gear market. You know, I read to you guys the stats last week that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of a few thousand Gibson Les Paul custom shop models out there available just on Reverb alone. I didn't even get into eBay or, again, like I said, some of the other sites that I could look. That's not even counting, you know, the ones in the retail shops. You know, dig that. So a tremendous amount out there. But, you know, how many guys my age, you know, and it has something to do with, again, reaching back to it's infantilism. It's what Freud talked about. It's why they have, you know, classic radio, rock radio on. It's in order to reach back to that stage mentally when you were a kid, and tie you back to that. You know, keep you. In some ways, it's good. It's like that song by the Eagles, and it was a quiet night, and it was a sweet thing. You know, music can be like that to the soul. But what I'm talking about is how manufacturers and others use music, use images and things of that nature in order to get you to buy things. And they generally, of course, you know, as you go through the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and into the 2000s, the images and the things that they use change, but the uh, the attack, the approach has not. But it would seem that it may not be working so much. And what do I mean by that? It may actually, the member berries might actually be souring a bit here. Again, getting back to all those custom shop models and how it's really the acquisition of one of those is either based on you think that it's going to make you sound better or play better, or XYZ rock star or whoever, or you or relative or somebody of that nature had one and you've got to have it. That's basically where you're at with that kind of high money acquisition. Or, of course, the collectors, which I believe fall into the first group in a way. We talked about that before. But, you know, let's look at Slash being one of the more recent ambassadors, and for that we'd have to reach all the way back to 1987. Gosh, moving ahead from Slash, not a whole lot there. That people you'll throw up some names, but I'm pretty much real sure that as an ambassador for the Les Paul, Slash would be the biggest even still to this date, at the modern age. I'm not talking about Jimmy Page or some of those other guys, but again, they were used back in the 70s, you know, in the way that I described. And so it's like, indulge me, guys, indulge me. I'm going through a little bit of a thought process here tonight. There's the new Indiana Jones movie out, and you're like, what the hell? How are you going to go from that to Indiana Jones? Just bear with me, bear with me. You know, Again, another movie that is made in order to play on my generation and maybe some of you guys out there with the member berries. You remember Indiana Jones? You remember all the Avengers? Remember? And so they made a movie with a 90-year-old Harrison Ford. As I seem to recall, the last one didn't do that well. I do recall back in 2008. But it begs the question, who did they make this movie for? Because guys in my generation, we're not going to show up in droves for something like that. The younger generation, my gosh, unless their dad or their mom or somebody introduced them to that character, it's not really it's just like it would be as relevant as like Zorro, to be frank. They keep trying to resurrect that, or the Lone Ranger, even better. It's getting to be a little distant and a little long in the tooth. And therefore that reflects in its current box office, which I understand it's doing very poorly. They tried to use member berries. They tried to use using that association. That's what member berries are, associations from our childhood in order to draw us in. Well, the guitar market is, as I've pointed out, is doing the same thing. But I think even that too, as in the case of this movie, is starting to fall off. I think it's starting to get a little long in the tooth, and because I don't think that the younger generation really makes those kind of associations. Certainly, no 20, as I said to my brother tonight, no 20, 30, or 40-year-old really is rushing out there to buy a $9,000, $10,000, $12,000 Les Paul. It's not really aspirational, if you know what I mean by that, like it used to. It doesn't have the cachet, I guess is another way of putting it, that it used to have. And that goes across the line in a lot of stuff. Marshall, through a subsidiary, put out a recreation of the Blues Breaker and the Shredder, Shredmaster, and that whole line of four pedals. The new re-releases are available out there. You can find them, and they haven't gone up in value. There's not one of those things that are being jacked up in price by flippers. People are still asking outrageous prices for the original ones, although this particular, reaching back into a member berry and trying to excite the market actually undercut those guys. Again, thank God I sold mine. The minute I heard they were thinking about coming out with those, I immediately sold it. Because I was like, this is not going to climb in value the way that I anticipated it. And 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 there's again a thing that is selling marginally well, but again, the member berries are the force is not strong with this one. Now we could all go through a list of a lot of recreations. Heck, DoD just came out with recreations of older pedals. Um, it's this regurgitation in our media, and now this regurgitation in our gear that is starting, in my opinion, to turn off the consumer in both mediums. I know it's hard to say, well, one is films and TV and things, and this is guitar gear, but it's the same. I'm drawing the parallels so that you guys can see that this type of marketing is prevalent throughout a lot of things, that you'd be surprised. A lot of things. And again, if we have the mantra of "I'm good," which I hope every one of you out there has, then it will make you know never mind. But it is something to chew upon and dwell upon sometimes. So I just think that you know it's weird, the music industry, by really just not giving bands the opportunity to develop, uh, signing bands and then shelving them, putting out pop songs where you've got one guy, what was his name, Martin, who producing 90% of the music out there on the radio. When you created this environment and you kind of killed the idea of live venues through this, an indirect killer of live venues. Live venues in the UK used to be a thriving thing. When I was there, there were even in the late, what was that, 2005, 2006, 7 that I was there living. It was thriving, but it was dying, and I would imagine that it's even worse now. But these are all things that have come about through, and then of course, where I'm trying to get to with that thought is that with equipment, the dying of the dying of guitar music, the dying of anything that's not generated on a computer, all of this has contributed to this stagnant staleness, that they're using member berries in order to try to sell things to people that it's just not flying anymore, because there's no substance anything out there of anything for the last let's say 10 years or so, in my opinion. It's gotten worse and worse. There are some gems, but mostly worse. That has led to the death of the gear market, the traditional gear market, how it was. And that's just my opinion. And what I'm trying to say is that all this stuff goes hand in hand, and all one thing has a consequence that leads to another. So, what does it mean, Mike? Where are you getting to with all of this? Well, again, I just point this stuff out. Tonight's talk is again another roundabout way of me talking about how to overcome gas. I guess it boils down to how to, look at these things in the way that they're going to come at you to purchase things and say, hey, you know what, that doesn't work on me, and I bet you if you put this commercial in front of my son or daughter or younger brother or sister, it would really have no impact either. They have no artists of any kind of caliber in order to use this current member berries, is my point. Stupid question time, and I'm wasting my money buying pedals for a solid state modeling app because no, because you can use the modeling app as your clean out. You can say, okay, I'm going to use the Katana as my clean, and the pedals are going to be, my flavoring, that will, So that's great. Uh, and that's a great amp too, because I understand you can mod that thing so you can put a charger on the back. You'll have to put it on by screwing it in, where that thing you could have a couple of hours without having to plug in anywhere. Yeah, I would certainly do that. Now you gotta find the ones that match to it. That's going to be a search in itself, and good luck with that. But some will work, some won't. But that's the fun of it. But yeah, man, it's just it's crazy to me, that I sit here and I strain to think of artists. I mean, it's all rap now. So how do and they come up with and the artists that they do come out with their new signature artist lines. Maybe I'm out of loop. I don't think I am, but these are not artists of any kind of star quality. They're not. They're not. They're on a certain tier. They're not A tier. Even after 50, 60 years, there's still a name cachet to a Jimi Hendrix signature, as opposed to Skylar Lark or whatever flavor of the month is guitar player. That they're trying to create a buzz around in order to create a member berry from, and it's just not doing, because the majority of the music out there is rap these days, and that's in terms of consumption on the radio, that is. Machine Gun Kelly had a peak Telecaster you can buy. Who is that for? That's what I'm saying. That dude is like, he's like Nephilim height. He's a tall guy. And tall, skinny guy like that with a pink guitar, who's that, who's that for? Who's this stuff for? I can go through a list of, we talked about some other stuff. Who's that for? My beginning opening statement regarding the Gibson Les Paul custom shop stuff is really getting into who is this really for? Because I'm looking out there on the landscape and I'm seeing their, like busy little elves, they're building them every day in the shop. But how many of these are really moving? There, or how in a ratio terms, how many standards do they sell as opposed to custom? There's a whole lot there. And what are the markups to make that a viable operation? There's a lot of stuff in there. That it makes you go, And you'd be a sucker to buy one new anyway, because the value of those things is I've demonstrated, and your chances of selling it are slim to nil. Unless, I'm okay, not slim to nil. It's there, but the Gibson custom shops are not for the working musicians. No, they never were. I told you guys a story of my guitar player in Japan. He took me to a club. It's for people who don't play anyway. Well, it's collector stuff. Sure, Don Juan, that's true. He took me to a club in Shibuya. Because I was looking for places to play. He said, well, let's go talk to the guy here. Let's go talk to the guy there and see what we can work out. And there was a band playing, and they were playing the worst. It was just god awful. I don't know what it was that those kids were playing. Didn't have there wasn't a tempo. There was like 3 or 4 different tempos going on up there on that stage. But Keiko tapped me on the shoulder. He said, look at their instruments. And they were all custom shop Gibson Les Pauls, Fender basses, Nord lead synthesizers, all brand new great equipment. And he said, those are the Tokyo University kids. They're rich kids. Can't play for shit, he said, but they've got the best stuff. He says, just wait around. When they're done trying this out, it'll be for sale for cheap. And that's where we get our stuff from, the real guys. So, yeah, it's not for, I've played quite a few Les Pauls. I've touched quite a few in my hands, played them, strummed them, of all different levels. And I really have come to the conclusion that some of the best Les Pauls that I've held in my hands were not Gibson Les Pauls. Much like Slash found out with his Appetite for Destruction Les Paul, which was not a Gibson Les Paul, it was a copy. So I have kind of chewed with that one, but yeah, who are they for? A lot of stuff. Who's it for? Uh, you know, and I just don't take to the psychology BS that they're trying to shove down on me. When I turn on my YouTube channel or to watch somebody else on YouTube, I'm flooded with gear commercials because they're targeting me. And I'll look at the first 3 seconds, until it says skip ad, and I'll skip the ad. Because the majority of that stuff, a lot of it's software based, so they're definitely barking up the wrong tree with me there. That's the vintage fenders too. Yeah, I didn't mean torn into the fenders. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Who are they for, really? I think of all the musicians that I've played with all my life, and all the countries that I played, and all the stages that I played on. In my latter half as a guitar player, in my earlier half as a keyboard player, and I don't know of anybody. None of the cats that I knew, some of them had good older gear, but most of the stuff they had was like Aria Pros, PRS. It has a new telly with mini humbuckers for nearly 3,000. Yeah, yeah, man. It gets to be a little tone deaf too, because we as a gear buying audience, we're like, whoa, 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 what the hell do I need a $3,000 PRS mini humbucker guitar for? What's up with that? And even the most gaseous of gas guys, just Hindenburg level of gas, and will stop and say, hey, it's enough is enough with this stuff. And so I think that the member berries are starting to sour, guys. I think that as I look and read things and read people's reactions and talk to you and get your impressions, that that tact is not working. Now, where the future is going with the music industry, I have no idea. I don't think it's going to get better for us as consumers or artists. But these are industries that have to keep going on. I told you that the gear market, particularly the guitar market, 100 guys buy a guitar, 90 of them are going to quit within the first 3 months. Those other 10 who stick around are your customer base. Gibson and Fender hold 40% of the guitar market share in terms of electric guitars. The biggest seller of guitars out there in the market is not acoustic, it's electric, 60%. So Gibson and Fender have a big chunk of that. Is it weird because? Sorry, I didn't see that one. Sorry, didn't catch that one in time. So you look at those numbers, you kind of look at that landscape, and you say, okay, this is a game that has to keep going, but for how long? And I'm not even going to get into the ecological aspects of it. I told you that Simic factory in Indonesia goes through a tractor trailer's worth of wood every shift. Every shift. That's 365. Now I want you to start to think about how much wood that is to make guitars. I think there's enough guitars out there in the world that everybody who wanted to have a guitar, even an expensive one, if they stopped making guitars today, there would still be well enough guitars out there in the world to go around. I see guitar dropping in prices left and right because of no takers on the way. Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about that. You know, that hot air flow is hitting that cold air stream. And it's reflecting in the drops in the prices in the secondary market. It's a rinse and repeat of 2008, but it's been a slow burn because of COVID. The market prior to that was in decline. If you read articles from 2017, 2018, and 2019, the big things is Gibson dying. Is electric guitars, are they dying? COVID hits, sales boom 400%. Fender comes out with the most BS survey that everybody out there, every writer has been taking the stats from that survey, talking about the increase of female players. We went through that survey. I told you that that was a bogus survey. It was a bogus survey, but they have run with that thing. And so now it's gospel out there. If you're aware it's a bogus survey, you start reading something and it quotes. I did that just the other day. I was reading an article and it started mentioning that the stats from that Fender survey, and I knew they were those Fender stats, and I stopped reading the article because it was bogus. But what am I ranting about here? I guess I'm just saying that you know I just think that the amount of waste, as I was alluding to there with, the amount of wood, the, the corporate machinations in order to keep this thing going, and this convincing of the consumer that there's something wrong with your Epiphone, as but even that's not. You see, even that's not working anymore. There are more guys now selling their Gibsons and starting to buy Epiphones, and that's a fact. Every day, on just go to mylespaul.com, the forum, and read through there. Every day, it's like, hey, you know what? I got rid of my Les Paul and I bought an Epiphone, or and that's growing. A lot of people are doing it. But they'll still tell you, well, you're just not good enough. You're just not the man unless you've got that Gibson standard from the custom shop with the Murphy, paint job on it and the Murphy aging. Then you got yourself a guitar. Then you're the man. Yeah, and so they got to keep that machine rolling. And so, and I talked about, I was alluding to films and Indiana Jones movie. We saw, this kind of marketing, like I said, is standard in a lot of different industries. And the member berries are starting to fall off. Like I said, that Indiana Jones movie's box office is terrible. Are any of you guys going to go see that Indiana Jones movie? Show hands. We got 11 people here and 4 likes. There's something wrong with the math there, guys. Hit those likes. Hit those likes, guys. Helps me in the algorithm. Hit those likes. Are any of you guys out there planning on seeing that movie? Probably no. Are any of you guys out there dying to buy that Fender American too? Are you? How many guys out there are dying to rush out there and buy that $3,000 PRS mini humbucker? No matter how many member berries or how they try to market it, whether they put out there, if there's no takers, then who is it for? What is it for? My God. Really, if they stop making, think about that. If they stop making guitars tomorrow, stop producing acoustics, electric, across the board, what you guys have is what you have. That's it. We're not going to cut down, and I'm not getting it, save the planet kind of thing. If you have a forest and you grow the trees and you wait 15, 20 years for them to grow, and then you cut them down and use them, and then you immediately replant and do it like that, and you've got it staggered like that so you can have that kind of sustainable thing going, then I'm okay with that. So there is that, but still, that is an alarming amount. And if we stopped tomorrow and we said, enough is enough, this is done, there's more than enough stuff out there for all of us to have Nostalgia from childhood. Yeah, that's what they play. They're playing on your nostalgia. Again, that's what classic rock radio is too, in a way. It's the same kind of thing. I remember I heard that song back when I had, Patty in the back seat of my dad's Ford. It gets to that kind of thing, that kind of sentimentality. Or I remember this when, me and my buds, we were out playing basketball and this song came on, and it reaches back to those things. And so they'll try that in the gear market as well. And they'll bring up whoever their signature guy of the week is. They'll bring up their re-release of a re-release of a re-release of an old guy, of a Jimmy Page, dragon guitar. They will create an artificial market to make those the lucky ones of their choosing to buy these, to find that their models are at an inflated price, even from what they bought them from, therefore to put some kind of cachet on them, therefore to make you feel as though they have some kind of value. Yeah, and that's, and so forth and so on. So, I have these mental exercises sometimes. It's not all, I talk to you guys every Sunday about these things as they occur to me. And 12 guys, 11 guys and 5 likes. Well, we're getting there. We're not quite halfway there. If I get a half a like going, then I'd be all right. But I just think that it's getting to the point where it's getting nauseating. It really is. I'm not in for it. I don't want to see it in the movies. I don't want to see it in the gear market. I don't want to see it. I like to see innovation. I like to see something new. I like to see something exciting. It used to be special to get a signature model guitar. Now it seems like anyone can have one. I know my cat is going to get a signature model guitar one of these days. It's going to be the TJ Les Paul. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. And the people that get the signatures, I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful. I'm sure they're all fantastic artists in their own rights and ways, but I just don't know who they are. And I dare say of the consuming market, or at least the ones that they're trying to reach out to, probably don't either. Folks should stop overpaying, then the prices will have to adjust down. Well, they are going to. They're going to adjust because demand. Falling demand is always going to be a way to find a true value. Yeah, price is the territory and value is the city, is the location. And that's what we're seeing in the used market. We're starting to see that capitulation. We're starting to see that the prices are starting to fall and go back to reasonable levels. However, there are some guitars that do have value that will get drugged down as well. It's not going to be, the dragging down is going to be across the board. So that's something that you should also keep in mind as well and plan accordingly. But I talk quite often about the psychology that's used. My mother studied psychology at Pepperdine University. I would flip through her psychology books because I kind of took a liking to it. I studied the history of marketing as an occupational kind of thing. So when they come at you with this stuff, and they used to be a lot better with it. Now it's just blatantly out there. I saw a commercial of Lenny Kravitz, and he was playing Are You Gone My Way, whatever that song is. Are You Come My Way, whatever the title of that song is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how many commercials have I heard in the span of the last 20 years or 10 years or so that use this song and have Lenny Kravitz in it, and for different products? Sometimes he's in it, sometimes he's not, but it's always that song. And it's got to the point where he's devalued that song because now it's selling spaghetti or it's selling cologne or, it's not, it's, the commercialism of it has devalued that song. And when you see this sale that I mentioned at the beginning of tonight's live stream of Warner selling Purple Rain, you're going to hear, Darlin' Nikki is going to be selling, pantyhose. You're going to see, a opening shot of, a lady putting on pantyhose slowly up her leg, and you're going to hear that da 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 da. And by the time they pan up to her face, she's going to be like 100. Yeah, man. Coming to a screen near you. Trust me, if this cell goes through, and it will. And it's a shame. They'll devalue that song and all the other stuff that they're selling if it's used that way. And if I know Sony, it pretty much probably will be. You certainly hear. I don't mind it in soundtracks for movies. That doesn't bother me. Sometimes it works brilliantly, like the end of Layla at the beginning of Goodfellas, playing throughout Goodfellas. It works. Sometimes when you bring those kind of things together, it works wonderfully. But for a pizza commercial and are you gonna come my way with extra pepperoni? 2 for 1 after 7 p.m.? Nah, man, nah. And so, it's all funny to me. It's hilarious, but they're really throwing it in your face. They're being super obvious with it. I bring up the Indiana Jones thing because that's from my generation. I'm not gonna see it. I don't give Disney money anymore. I don't do it. I won't go see. I won't do it. I won't give them any money because what do we have here? We have another old male figure who has a young brunette like Rey in Star Wars, and interestingly enough, his other character, Han Solo. You had Picard in the Picard series. You have this recurring thing where it's just shitting on old guys as I'm getting older. My health, providing my health keeps. Knock on wood. That I'll get older like that. I find it offensive. This theme of the of this kind of thing, and people are saying, "Hey, wait a minute, old guy loses son, but picks up young girl who shows him the way." Well, that's the same story between this current Indiana Jones and one of the Star Wars. What was that? The Last Jedi. It's the same story. And it didn't work then. People didn't like it then. And so you get tired of it, when you see this and your commercials and TV and things of that nature. But I do believe the member berries are starting to sour. I think that people are starting to recognize this. And again, like I said, the proof is in sales. The proof is in case of those movies, the box office. In the case of gear, what's going on in terms of sales at retailers and in the secondary market. So, something to keep in mind, guys, something that I thought that I would tie all that together. And actually, I did a pretty good job. I'm surprised I kept a core. I kept a coherent thread through the last hour. It's amazing. I'm not drinking enough before these shows. I'm going to have to increase my tequila shots before I come on. I'm making too much sense. Coming up this week, like I said, we are going to be taking a look at that Dearmond, the M75T. We will just talk about it in terms of its historical significance. Nostalgia is wearing off on us. Yeah, the member berries aren't working anymore. It's not working because they hit us over the head with it too much. They used to be a lot more subtle to this. They used to be a lot smarter. You know, yeah, or either that or they think that we're dumber. I don't know what it is. Either way, it's not working. So we'll cover that M75T, the Diamond. Love that guitar, guys. Honestly, if I didn't have a business, that'd be one that I'd like to hold on to myself. But somebody will find a good home with that. But in the meantime, I was able to document it, and we will discuss that this week. Jock and I were supposed to get together and film a talk for this week. But unfortunately, I realized the time slot he gave me is the time that we started this live stream tonight. I thought I could slide it in, do it right before the live stream, and at least then film him and then start the live stream, but it didn't work out. So that will be coming up anyway. My uncle, Carlton, is feeling better. He has gotten his health back. He's feeling chipper, and he would like to continue to talk about the business back in the day. So that will be coming up here, I'm sure. Lots of content, 300 videos, but so much stuff. There's no shortage of content for this channel. I try to differentiate myself in keeping it pretty simplistic, but informative, accurate as possible as I can, and interesting certainly. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Um, yeah, I think we're going to call it a night. So look forward to that coming up here this week on this channel. Um, you know, I appreciate you guys. I say that every week, but I don't want to stop saying it. That I do appreciate you taking the time to show up every week, spend time with me, share your thoughts. This is quite a community that we're building here, getting close to 2,000 subscribers. That's quite something. 300 videos, getting close to 2,000 subscribers, 4 years. Really happy to be doing this. Ben, I appreciate you showing up, always being here, man. If we ever get this big enough, you're in the role for the moderator. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Dr. Phil, thank you showing up. John Wan showing up. All you guys showing up, taking the time to watch this week. I am going to go in here and have a slice of cheesecake and maybe a cup of tea and go to bed. And I hope you, wherever you're at in the morning, afternoon, or evening, have a good one. All right, guys. Take care. Next week. See ya. Bye-bye.